Hello everyone, Kaos Nova here, and we are going live with the countdown. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Alright, hello everyone, Kaos Nova here, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about Sound of Freedom. There's been some controversy with the Sound of Freedom, at least raised in magazines, but overall there's been a lot of good reviews about it, and I'm just going to get the bad part set aside real quick. The negative part is this, this really extrapolated conspiracy theory or QAnon, whatever it is, about, a grand unified conspiracy about kidnapping children. It's not even in the film, all right? It's not in the film at all. So it's just really dumb, and it's really reaching, and children being kidnapped and abused, and essentially, no, they are pretty much slaves when they're kidnapped in these criminal operations. It shouldn't even be an issue to disagree upon at all. All right? It shouldn't even be partisan. Even the Obama administration admitted years back that this is an issue. And a little background is that this film was originally being made under 20th Century Fox. When Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, a number of films got delayed and shelved. So this film was originally meant to come out in 2018. And the 2018 was delayed, and delayed even more because in 2019, 20th Century Fox, as an acquisition, was being completed by Disney. So this has been delayed for 5 years, and it now has been released. It was released on Independence Day of this year. I'd say it's not exactly a film for everyone, and I'm just saying it can jerk at your emotions. It is only PG-13, unlike a lot of other historical dramas like, say, Schindler's List, and it's not as graphic, but it's a situation. You see the kids were locked up and essentially prisoners to these drug cartels, and you know that they treated them with cruelty. All right, it's all right. You just don't. If you're an adult, you know that something bad happened. I mean, even if you don't see the kids getting raped in a scene or see them getting beaten in a scene, you know, because you can see the effects around you, or the after effects, or just the general environment that these children are seen in the film, that this happened. The film combines, the drama that was made in the making of this film for a budget of around $14 million, which, it's pretty cheap for a film to be made for that much. So, yeah, this film is by technicality an independent film. It was acquired by Angel Studios from Disney, and then Angel Studios put it out so that it has been released in theaters. But the film is not like, say, Taken, where you have these action scenes. It's primarily about setting up an undercover operation. It's based on the autobiography and documented events regarding Tim Ballard, who was a former Department of Homeland Security agent. It has departures from what is written in the accounts in the film. They put it in for drama that a boy who gets rescued is, please find my sister who got separated from me. The boy's name being Miguel. So obviously some specific details are changed, but the general idea is that chasing after children who were taken outside of the United States was outside of the jurisdiction of the Department of Homeland Security. And they did bust some people who used, but they want to catch higher ups involved in these operations. So obviously, so Ballard goes foreign to try to track down where to find them and tries to make deals with other people to work at solving this case where these children are kidnapped and enslaved to try and rescue them. So the actual account that I have is that over 100 children, and a significant portion of them being teenagers, were actually found in Colombia. That's the event that they based this film on, and obviously they took some dramatic license because they didn't want to, they didn't want to show exactly how long. It's a 2-hour film, but they do place actual news footage from various times and actual footage from the events that the movie is based on and put it into the film, along with a post-credit scene by Jim Caviezel about child trafficking as an issue in the modern times. So overall, as a historical drama film, it's worth watching, but it can be tough to watch, because you're realizing in that film that children are being abused in horrible ways. I mean, they keep it down enough to make it PG-13, but it can be skirting pretty close to rated R. But just the emotional effect that it could have on you, don't underestimate it. I mean, you see the kids, like I said before, you see the kids have marks on them from the abuse they received, and you see the kids are locked up in the film. So, I mean, and just the fact that kids disappear in the film, and just the fact that what you see in the film implies it to you. As an adult, you know that something bad happened, okay? And that kind of effect of implied, or that kind of effect of thinking about it has an effect that, you can't exactly underestimate. It's not just like some action movie where you're, watching people get shot up. It's a bit different. And, as for the overall conspiracy theory, it's never mentioned. They do go into U.S. government statistics about children who go missing and are abducted. And estimates, according to law enforcement, is that this is, this trafficking, this human trafficking and enslaving children and teens is possibly, by professional estimates, an industry of billions of dollars. And it's implied all sorts of things that kids become slave labor to make drugs, to go and all sorts of horrible, sex slavery, where the kids essentially are being prostituted, and all those different aspects. And as a criminal issue, it's big. I mean, and the film does not go into any explicit conspiracy theories. Now, no Illuminati, no Q, whatever is mentioned in it. And like I said before, it's not something for everyone. It could really be painful to watch, in the sense that a lot of historical dramas such as Schindler's List or something can be painful to watch, because you know that bad things are happening. You know deep down inside that what is happening is atrocious, and you do not want to have it to happen to people. And as a father, I understand that much. As for whatever religion, Tim Ballard is, he's Mormon, and Jim Caviezel is Catholic. With the way the film shows it, he feels empathy because he is a father, okay? I believe with faith that anyone who, has a decent amount of empathy in them would feel bad for kids being kidnapped and abused in who knows what way, even if they don't believe in any God or follow any religion. I believe they'd be capable of feeling for the horrible, and I mean horrible, atrocious things that are going on. Now, as for the conspiracy theory stuff that's being told, this is mostly just Rolling Stones and CNN that is saying this. And I'm, one of the, obviously not among the first to jump on this film and talk about it. I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but it's worthwhile to see it as a historical event being dramatized. It happens. Now, I mean, regarding the film, fine if you don't like the structure, but I mean, if you really want to think about some conspiracy theory and use it as a straw man, my question is why? Okay, is it not your ideal film or your ideal series of films that's doing well? I mean, I understand that. I've had plenty of films that did not do well at the box office. I liked them anyways. Fight Club was a box office bomb. I like that film. I like it a lot. I like the memes from it. That you can get out of Fight Club. Blade Runner. I like either of those films, and they are not good at the box office. Not at all. I enjoy Wizard of Oz. I enjoyed it as a kid growing up, but that film did not do well in theaters. Wizard of Oz was something where they released it somewhat the wrong time. There was the Great Depression going on. There was a lot going on at the time. But they did, it was a kids' toys operation that happened with the Wizard of Oz throughout the 40s. I mean, and it was something that was broadcast on TV, and they sold it on home video over time. So, but at the end of the day, if something didn't do well at the box office, I know it hurts. I know it means that, Hollywood might be downsizing their total production and total output of films. It could happen. I know. There's a lot of films we can try and fall back on, and I wish the best to those who work in making these films. It's a tough time. It's shaky. What's going on? Businesses are laying people off. I know it's tough. And and during the Great Depression, my accounts that my grandfather left about that time period, he said as much that they hardly watched movies in theaters at all. They had to conserve money. Yeah, he was one of those farmer guys back then. They had to really conserve money when it wasn't the business season where they weren't selling as much of their dairy and their grain. So to conserve their money, they just didn't go watch movies in theaters. They mostly just had to read books and do other things. But besides the Great Depression, sometimes movies you like don't do well in theaters. And, I'm sorry for those who are looking forward to see film continuation, but I mean, it's possible with the way the box office has been going that some of these big motion picture companies will downsize. I feel for you. There's films that I like, films that I don't like, but I do feel bad for the people who want more of that, but who probably won't get as much with potential downsizing of the production. It's tough, but I just don't feel the need to be mad and about some film that is doing great because I don't like it. I mean, or some film that is doing poor that I don't like. I understand. I understand a lot of you who are probably listening to this or who listen to this later would be disappointed. I understand that part, but it's, you don't have to watch this if you really don't like it. All right. As for, the issue, it's an issue, okay? And it doesn't really help to really strawman the fact that there is somehow some kind of grand unified conspiracy to abduct kids and harvest organs. Again, the film doesn't mention it at all. You have to really be reaching to get into that idea. Now, I know that they're, part of religions, and some people who are religious have this conspiracy theory thing. Again, the issue I have is not conspiracy theory, it's the kind of logic that goes into conspiracy where you essentially start with a conclusion, then you try to cherry pick to get that result. Well, oh my, that's not good logic. Good logic involves going to something similar to the scientific method where you have a hypothesis, and if your hypothesis has enough proof, enough burden of proof, then it's true, and you proved it. If you don't have enough, end up having enough proof in testing for the hypothesis, then you just have to admit that there isn't the proof for it. That is good logic. Bad logic is when you start with a conclusion and you essentially cherry pick and do everything you selectively can to prove that conclusion that you started with. Again, you don't start with a conclusion. That's not good logic. And that's the issue I have with some things that you would probably call conspiracy theories, and some things, depending on your bias, you might not call them conspiracy theories. Either way, I'm just going to explain here, bad logic is bad logic. Now, what happened with CNN is that's essentially straw manning. All right? The film does not mention a grand conspiracy to kidnap kids. It doesn't. I mean, there's interviews with Jim Caviezel that I've seen, at least one of them, which talk about, dark forces working to kidnap kids and exploit them. Now, in the film, there is no evidence whatsoever that there's some big Illuminati conspiracy behind these drug cartels. These guys were criminals. They were doing things in the dark because they didn't want people to see it. They were kidnapping these kids because they didn't want people to see it or find out. They were using these kids for making drugs, okay? Anyone should be reviled at it. And as for the rest, I'm sick of the cognitive dissonance, okay? If someone who doesn't, politically align with me thinks something's right and it's right, okay? I don't feel the need to play opposite to someone on everything just because I don't agree with them on some things. That is stupid. It's incredibly stupid. I just don't get it. I mean, people have enough time to really just say, well, someone who thinks this has to be the opposite of me and everybody. No, that is very wrong logic. That usually involves guilt by association, which is wrong because people that you totally disagree with, people who are criminals, people who do horrible things can actually believe in something right. They might. And this goes back to, schooling and where they teach you about the various fallacies. Guilt by association is not in and of itself sound logic. The sound logic is testing something and saying, okay, does the test results and the proof add up to this, or does it not? If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Now, I'm not going to say don't take precautions, because sometimes you should just have preparedness in issues such as disasters. If there's a storm coming, you're not going to, do some experiment to find if there's a storm coming. If it's coming, it's coming. Or at least you have something as a contingency in the event of a storm or earthquake coming, where you know what to do in the event and aftermath of it. But I just despise how some people, have their politics so far, up the wrong place that they just they have to play opposite of somebody. It's cognitive dissonance. It's really stupid sometimes. And honestly, this film is not a question of whether or not you believe in right or left. Anyone should despise the fact that children are being kidnapped, okay? And overall, the burden of proof is that the film itself does not state any conspiracy theories, which is good. It simply goes into the fact that criminals like these drug cartels are kidnapping kids and treating them badly. All right? So, please, don't play cognitive dissonance. Realize that principles can be right, and this should be right or wrong. This should be wrong that people are kidnapping kids And this should also be right that some people actually want to save children from this kidnapping. I know that there's been a lot of crazy things with everything from religious figures and school teachers, everything, who are treating kids badly, abusing them, molesting them, okay? Just don't let it take you into this doomsday mode where you believe that, oh no, I should just be paranoid about everybody. Don't let it take you there. Get help if you are genuinely traumatized. So overall, and I'm not going to take, sides and other things, but just overall, just my summary here is that I'm just disappointed with what CNN and Rolling Stones did, and potentially others have done. The film isn't like that, and misrepresenting it doesn't really impress me much. All right, I know that this film wasn't, was an independent film, made on a low budget. It isn't part of what Disney and Warner Brothers or Paramount or Universal put out as a film. It isn't. And I am disappointed, like the rest of you, that some of these films are bombing. I know that some of you who enjoy, whatever, Transformers, Disney animation, super movies, DC or Marvel, might get a downsizing in film productions in the future. It could happen. And I understand that some of you might not get as much of a quantity as you want. I mean, I know. I'm sympathetic about it, but this film isn't all of that, okay? I understand how upsetting it is, and this film isn't exactly like that. Isn't the whole problem. I mean, there's a lot of problems going on, and part of it is some of these series have been running on a long time, and someday when you least expect it, a certain franchise people just don't care about it. It can happen. And that's probably what happened now. It's probably multiple factors. It's probably part of it is people became indifferent. Part of it is people could have, become. Some people are broke. I mean, if the income that we have now with the 30,000 mark is going on right now, a lot of people in this country are poor, and probably with the way prices are, probably can't afford to make as many movie trips. That's going on with me, is I have to pick and choose which film I go and see. It's tough. But at the end of the day, as tough or as easy as it is, I believe the sun will shine again. And at the end of the day, it's another one of those historical dramas that I feel that could be remembered. It's tough. It knows how to get emotional without getting explicit. I mean, the film isn't an action thriller. It goes into the setting up of the investigation to go undercover in Colombia, and what ultimately turns out to be Colombia, and catch the perpetrators and rescue the kids. And I think that's something worth showing. It's worth showing to some people that there are some real heroes out there, and over time people will think of it as they may. So I know this isn't a particularly long live stream that I have here, but I wish you all a wonderful day, and I just want to tell you, be safe out there, and I will be signing off.